Good morning to Soul Sips on Sunday. The idea of this video is to open up a conversation, a thought for Sunday or any day for that matter, that perhaps has maybe a bit of edge to it, maybe a bit of what we're thinking about and living, but we may not be talking about, or maybe we're just talking quietly about. Um, my thought was, as I'm encroaching 50, I just have so many questions and frustrations and life. And my God, it's just such a peculiar time right now that it's hard not to have points of frustration and what I say, losing my mind. Um, so I wanted to just kind of bring different possible topics that I'm thinking about to the forefront, because I kind of feel like if I'm thinking it, there's a really good chance that there's other of you out there thinking about it too. And if you're not, maybe it might just be a little nugget to chew on. Last week we talked about menopause and that it is, in our cycle and our health is about women, but it's about men, and it's about education, and it's about not shaming and recognizing that it is a very vital part of living. And those conversations are really, really important. Today, I wanted to talk to you about inflammation. And I think as we age, inflammation tends to be the base of a lot of disease and a lot of concerns, even in the healthiest of bodies. I think it is something that should be at the front of our thoughts as we're eating and drinking and living. But again, this is as we live it. I wanted to tell you a little bit of my story because I also believe that sharing stories is so vital in recognizing that we're all the same. We're all just trying to keep our head above water. We're all just trying to do this thing called life. And if you happen to be a parent, like me, it's a journey. It's a day to day, and you just kind of cross your fingers and you hope you're doing the best thing you can for those gorgeous beings that came out of us. So, but with that, I wanted to tell you this story that I've been actually struggling with inflammation almost all of my adult life. When I was pregnant with Joshua, I was 26, and I was in a car accident, and it was a really scary car accident. The car was totaled. I had a scare with the baby, but up until that point, I was about 5 months pregnant. Up until that point, I was like, I can have this kid, and I can just get it out of me and get back to work and just kind of do. And I often think that car accident was a big wake-up call for me, and a realization that this is a pretty precious situation to be a mom and to to be carrying and developing a baby. I didn't really take it that seriously until that happened. Anyways, the car accident occurs, the baby comes out fine, we go through some scares, but when Josh again is then about 5 months old, around August, September, my body shuts down. I go into like a wicked pain, chronic not sleeping. I just didn't quite understand. Now with Joshua, I went back to work at about 6 weeks. So I was back to work 2 or 3 days a week. And I was trying to nurse and I was trying to manage the business, and just life was really, I swore I wasn't having any more children because it was just so stressful, as I don't need to tell you guys about. But what also happened was my body shut down. And so later on and through this whole process, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And once I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia at the time, now again, this is 1997, it wasn't really a diagnosis that was really respected. There was a lot of things, and if you're familiar with it, or you can look it up, it was something that was kind of poo-pooed a bit. And I went on that train. I also decided that no, this wasn't going to be my diagnosis. And they also, because they had said that I should not have more children. My body couldn't handle it, and etc. Well, for whatever, if this shows a sign, or later as I look back, realize how mentally strong I was and just so determined, I then went on to have 3 more children. And it's almost like I shut my body down. But through those pregnancies, particularly Alexander's, my second baby, I remember taking a lot of Tylenol. I remember having a lot of neck pain. And when you're carrying babies in baby carriers, like it just goes up into your neck. And so it was whiplash and all of this stuff that went on with this car accident. But anyways, as time went on, I decided to own this and take responsibility for it. And I would often talk about that my legs worked well. So waist down, I was strong. And so I ran a lot, and I would call that my running meditation. I could push the babies in the jogger as long as the jogger was high enough and I could drop my shoulders down. But it was a continual struggle that I never really owned. And I actually parked that diagnosis of fibromyalgia until about 2015. I had done 2 years of fitness competing and intense strength training, really good eating. I must say, that is the beauty of fitness competing. However, that structure is like a diet, and coming off any diet is really hard on anybody's body. But through that process, I was kind of again grinding through my life as I was doing these fitness competing competitions. I was also, don't mind my dog, I was also going through a divorce. And so I was in this, again, this mental disciplined mode of just get through life. And I think, again, my body said, stop. And this time in my life, now I was 45, 46, 47, I had to listen because the pain was immense. And by the time I closed my business in 2018, the year of 2018, my body was shutting down like crazy. What I would do in 2018, I would work days at work. I would go in for 5:30 in the morning. I'd get home around 7:30 at night on a Monday. And I would be exhausted. And all of Tuesday, I wouldn't leave my house. I sometimes couldn't even get out of bed for quite some time in the day. I did so minimal. I was in so much pain. It was unbearable. But nobody knew, because that's what you do. You put your hat on, you go in, you do work, you give to people, you do whatever you're here to do. And it wasn't my job to complain to anybody. But now, where I am in my life, I look back and go, 2018, my body was just shutting down. So I closed my business, and then my body just goes into this relaxation. But what happened with the relaxation is my inflammation went through the roof. My pain went through the roof. And I just had days and months that I just couldn't move. And I did everything I could to just get going. So it became my quest. It was always kind of my quest. Like, I've always been like, how do we become the healthiest? How do we create and build as much vitality in our bodies? How do we really embrace, and what can we take control of? I know genetics are there, and I know our environment is there, and I know we're living. I get it. But what do we have control over? You know, and I'm not a fan of diets, but I am a fan of whole foods. And I am a fan of really understanding where our foods are coming from and how our body's responding to those foods. And you're different than me. And it's really important for us to each individually consciously eat something, ingest something, and then realize how our body responds to it. So anyways, inflammation. That was a long story to get to this point, but I have a bunch of points that I wanted to share with you about inflammation, because what I have to tell you is that I have a partner who is what I call a healer. And so I'm extremely fortunate. So when I'm in pain, he can help me. He's a chiropractor, and he also does soft tissue treatments. And so he has been phenomenal in my healing process. But even though he is here, I still have to come to an acute point to ask for his help. It may be just the strong-willed woman that I am because I feel like I can fix myself. So when I actually have to say to him, can you please treat me? I'm in pain. I'm in pain and I've been in pain for days. I just have to tell you before I go and tell you what I've done. He has not treated me in about 3 months. And I have known that man, and he has been treating me for a very long time on a regular basis and helping me get through to this point. And now he's not. I mean, I'd love it because his treatments are so healing and wonderful, but I put that towards my own personal strength. And so I want to share with you how I've done this. The first thing that I did in 2020 on Boxing Day, I bought myself a juicer. Now, you can have your pluses and minuses with juicers, but I just got to tell you, it has been a huge component. For 6 months, I have juiced almost every day. And I start with celery. Now I add lemon, turmeric, and ginger because I feel it is a clean nutrients and real nutrients that I can get into my body fast and efficiently. So I do that in the morning. Number 2, I used to drink coffee so much. I could even fall asleep drinking coffee. I've cut myself back. I love coffee. I can't imagine my life without coffee, but I've cut it back. I drink it black and I drink 2 cups a day in the morning. What that also goes with in the morning with that coffee is a quiet time. Now, even when I had my children and they were little and everything, I would actually set my alarm early in the morning. So at 5:30 in the morning, before anybody got up, I would have my coffee on a timer, and I would get up and I would do this quiet time. I do that quiet time right now. I grab my coffee, I get up, and I sit outside here in the beauty of Belleville in Canada, and we're so fortunate, and I just take it in. I'm sitting in a space that I've been sitting in for 16 years. And for the first time in my life, I hear birds that I never heard before. I'm recognizing my trees that sometimes puke yucky stuff, but like I never noticed it. I just never noticed any of it before. And I think that's the mindfulness and the presence that I think evolves as we start taking ourselves down, right? So some of the other things that I think that aren't really put into, like it's about diet and it's about movement. So let me just talk about that for a second. So I talked about the juicing, the reduction in coffee. I love wine. However, I've made a really conscious decision to cut back on it. It's your gig. I get it. But I think there are some negative effects to it, or it had on my body and on my sleeping. And sleep is so huge with inflammation and just allowing your body to thoroughly rest. So we have a little fire pit on our deck. And so I save that glass of wine for those special nights that I choose to sit out here with a little fire. Sometimes it's just by myself, or it's with my book. Sometimes it's with other members of the family, whatever it might be. And I just limit it. It's, I know it's a tricky one, but I encourage you to maybe just look at it. Just look at it. Hydration. I'm a huge believer of hydration. Water is just so powerful, right? And if you have a hard time getting water in, I really encourage you to there's so many fresh, beautiful fruits right now, but you can put celery in too. No, you can put cucumber in. That would be yummier than celery. The other thing that is really interesting, because I've lived by this for many, many years, and again, it's like one of those many things that I've changed and kind of said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm changing. And that is strength training. I do believe in strength training. But what happened with strength training with me is that I was hurting myself. As much as I knew and I understand the biomechanics really, really well, it was hurting me. So over the past couple of years, I've chosen to stop strength training for now, but I do a lot of body strength. and that moved me into yoga. And even when I say yoga, I do a lot of stretching in my yoga. I put on my earbuds and I listen to powerful music that inspires me, and I just move as I feel I need to. I pull out a mat and it goes out here on my deck or in my den or my bedroom, wherever I can be without humans disturbing me. And I really practice taking that time for myself, which is difficult with 4 kids and a busy house. Running. I love running. I love running, but it was something that I had to stop for a while because my body couldn't do it. My hips couldn't do it. My abs couldn't do it. My neck couldn't do it. So I consciously and very gradually in April just slowly got myself out. I went out 1 day a week to run, and I walked, and I just moved myself along. I'm up to 2 days a week. I'm so happy and to just be out there because I love the sweat, and I love running with my partner and my dog. It's like one of my most favorite things to do. I love seeing the nature. And again, I see trees and I feel the breeze in a different way than I ever have in my life. And again, you can change, right? You can change. I just have no desire to train for a marathon anymore. That's just me today. I don't know where I'll go in the future, but right now I'm just really, really good that my legs are working, that I'm not in pain, that I'm recovering, and I make sure that I always give myself 72 hours to repair before I will do any more running. And the other thing is that I walk regularly. You might know that I have a dog, and she has been a wonderful tool for me. She pushes me. I've got to get her out. So I go out for just a nice little walk in a neighborhood that I've been in a neighborhood for over 20 years. And I see people and I love saying hello to them, and I just love smiling, and I just feel super, super, uber grateful to be in this space and at this moment. And I think my point is that I think all of this assists in reducing inflammation, because the areas that are really not discussed a lot about is what happens deep cellularly in our bodies. And a lot of that is triggered by our stressors. And we talk a lot about this, like even at this moment in our lives, there's this tone of stress and fear and questioning. I don't know how many times I've had the children in front of me saying, can I go do this? And I'm like, give me a second, because we're in the middle of a pandemic and I don't know the answer. So there's a lot going on in our lives that we need to just give ourselves that time and be okay with it. Which then, as I have my hands like this, which I'm not going to lie, I used to make fun of this, but now it's like, oh, I am so very grateful. But I meditate. I've learned to meditate. I've practiced meditating. I don't put any pressure on myself on how I meditate. Sometimes it's just sitting out here and listening to all of this out here. Sometimes it is a mantra. Sometimes I listen to something. Sometimes I go for a walk and listen to something, or I don't. It's just taking time away. And then speaking of away, I shut down Facebook. I shut down Instagram when I feel like I am flipping. It drains the heck out of me. And I don't know how it can't drain the heck out of everybody. I look at my children and just say, why do you have alerts on? You know, you're just like always responding to everybody. And when do you park your phone? You know, we've got a bit of a beast here. And I think, again, at least with my kids, I've got to just keep practicing doing it myself, because at any point they can go, you're a hypocrite. So I've got to practice doing it myself, and maybe they might start seeing those changes. And I think those are underlying stresses that we just don't realize how it affects us. The other thing is kind of going back to food. I've tried to cut back on meat. I don't know. It feels better. I'm trying to listen to how my body's responding. I need protein. I know I'm a protein girl and I need it. I like meat. I don't have an intention of cutting it out, but God, I love salmon. And, you know, there's something connected with the whole meat world. And, music. I guess I just like to end with music. What fills your soul? Is it communication? Is it connecting with people? Take that time for yourself. We don't have to be on this go, go, go all of our lives, right? We can do this. You can take control and we can change. Cheers.